Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Mark Smith. I'm Group Managing Director of People2People in Australia and Frog Recruitment in New Zealand. It is Friday afternoon at 12:30, which means we are live on YouTube, Facebook and LinkedIn with P2P Live and an employment and jobs market update. Now, I'm broadcasting here from our Sydney office, and it's a beautiful day out in Sydney. It's probably hard for you to tell with the lighting and everything behind me here, but it's a bright blue sky, fabulous winter's day. Probably a little bit too warm actually for a proper winter's day, about 23 degrees. And I saw this morning this magic picture of Sydney Harbour, just not a cloud in the sky. Jacob, there it is there. So this is not mine. I was on Twitter this morning, and I think the guy was Big Mig 81. That's it, Big Mig 81. So we'll pop his Twitter feed in the comments there, and you can always follow in and have a look at that picture. But it is a fabulous day in Sydney. So what are we going to be doing today? Well, we'll do our regular numbers section where we've got quite a few, the latest internet vacancy index numbers from Australia. We've got some information from Google and the US unemployment claims data, which I thought was interesting and I wanted to share today. Then we'll be crossing to Vinnie in our Melbourne office because she has a very sexy role with an accounting firm that she wanted to share with us. And then we'll be going out to Western Sydney to the temp and contract manager, Mark Green in Western Sydney. You're thinking, what, is there any temp and contract work going on in Western Sydney at the moment? And yes, there is. And Mark's going to tell us a little bit about that. And he's got as to why and what the conditions are. And there's a specific vacancy that he'd really like to talk to us about. And then I've also got some links to some pretty dynamic content that I wanted to share from a webinar that we've done yesterday and some interview tips that Erin from Melbourne has done as well. So we'll get to that. And then our usual Twitter poll, the results from last week and this week's poll, which is a little bit controversial, I think. So, and g'day, Jaden, for watching us on, I can see that all the comments, by the way, from Facebook, LinkedIn and YouTube. And Jaden, who used to be behind the scenes here, is now watching. So good afternoon, Jaden, and thank you for watching. If you've got comments, pop them in there. I can see them live as well. So let's get into it and let's get started with our regular numbers section. So today we'll go to our Internet Vacancy Index job advertisement numbers, which comes from the Australian Bureau of Statistics. It's something that we show each month when they are released, and here's the latest. And you can see the trends there from the peak before the GFC, the last cycle, the COVID recession, the peak after the COVID recession, and now the decline from those peaks just a couple of months ago. It does look like a roller coaster because it has been, particularly in the last little while. The trend numbers, so the monthly change down 2.3%. The annual change still up it's up 87.4% from this time last year, so substantially different, and still up to pre-COVID. A pre-COVID comparison is still up 42.4%. So even seasonally adjusted, we're still up 38.3% on pre-COVID numbers, 71% up from the middle of last year, and we're down 3% seasonally adjusted from last month. So we've definitely come off those peaks, but it's certainly not a dire situation, and there is work out there at the moment. Let's see that on a state-by-state basis, because I thought this was really quite profound, quite interesting, in that all states were down month on month except Victoria. So interestingly enough, we'll be going to Vinnie in Victoria because she's got this really sexy job she wants to talk about. But it also, you can see from these numbers that Victoria is still increasing month on month. All other states are down. New South Wales, the worst, as you would expect, given that we're at the end of week 7 of the lockdown, down 10% month on month. On a yearly basis, you can see those numbers. New South Wales is still up 20%. On a yearly basis, the highest is Tasmania, up 69%, but really no movement month on month for Tasmania. So not a rosy picture in terms of the month on month movement, but still a good news story when you look at the historical comparisons. Let's have a quick look at the next slide, which I thought, and I've got to credit a particular Twitter account for this as well. And this is, what's his name? He's from, James Glynn from the Wall Street Journal. So I think his Twitter handle is James Glynn WSJ, if you wanted to check that out. You can see this is the searches for the word Centrelink on Google, which I thought was really interesting to see. It's not all good or not all bad news. So you can see when the lockdowns first started, New South Wales, that certainly increased, but that has now dropped back down to more trend levels. And in Victoria, it has dropped back to where it was on trend. And you can see last year when the COVID recession first started, what that looked like. So it's not all bad news there, and I think that looks pretty good. There's a bit of a love fest going on in the comments between Terry and Jaden, so that's pretty cool. Let's look at the last one, which is US continuing claims for unemployment. There's a lot of mixed news that's coming out of the US, and I still think the Australian economy is linked to global performance in some ways. So I do want to show some international statistics, and you can see that the claims for unemployment benefits continue to decline month on month in the US, which is a very good story for them. And despite the fact that they're going through another wave, how was it described politically the other day, that it was a pandemic of the unvaccinated in the US now, with some states experiencing some significant difficulty, but it's not flowing through into the job numbers there. Okay, all right. So that's it for the numbers section for this week. Some interesting data there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cross to Vinny in Victoria. But whilst we do that, what we'll do is we'll have a quick look at an opportunity that's in Brisbane from Georgia in Queensland that we're particularly keen to fill quite quickly. So if we'll have a look at that video.
Hi, I'm Georgia from the People to People Specialist team in Brisbane. We currently have multiple contract roles available with leading clients within the not-for-profit sector for experienced rostering coordinators across various locations in Brisbane. These contracts vary in length and will give you the opportunity to use your developed rostering skills. Assisting in scheduling and rostering services, you'll be responsible for managing and responding to incoming calls concerning support services and responding in a timely manner, along with working with the internal team to ensure resources meet client demand. If you have previous rostering or scheduling experience, a customer-centric work approach, enjoy working in a team environment, and good problem-solving skills, reach out to me today.
Yeah, some cool opportunities in Queensland, but we don't want to talk about Queensland, do we, Vinny? We want to talk about Victoria.
Yeah,
so welcome to P2P Live. First time for you. It's a pleasure to have you on the broadcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. It's definitely a very sexy job, as you've said multiple times. You can see that the market is definitely picking up here in Victoria. It's not declining at all, even during the lockdown, and it feels like it's just been very constant with the lockdown, but still very constant in the market with jobs. So it's definitely an exciting career opportunity to work with a world-renowned business consulting and advisory firm. We're actually looking for an experienced risk and conflicts manager to join their team. The team provides services for various clients, and we need to manage conflicts of interest from a reputation and also a branding perspective. So they would also provide advice, assistance on regulatory and also risk management issues, compliance responsibilities, basically setting up conflict management protocols to put in place with their clients.
Wow. Okay. Well, and what about the benefits that somebody can expect? Even as simple as salary. What are we looking at there?
Yeah, so it's at a 160K package. There's a bit of flexibility over there. You can definitely make this role your own and work hand in hand with the risk management and conflicts of interest director. You would be able to take a fresh look and suggest changes within the regulatory requirement, implement process improvements, be involved in strategic directives. And I would say that the culture is also really welcoming, very encouraging, and a very inclusive work culture and team.
Okay, and so if somebody, who's going to stand out for this role? What sort of background are they going to have and qualifications, for example?
Yeah, so this candidate could either be from Melbourne or Sydney. They're pretty open to their location. A person that would really stand out would be one with strong communications and interpersonal skills, as they would have to engage with the partners, stakeholders, clients to explain what they should or should not do within the conflicts management realm. And also, I guess, having that agility to multitask, to really dedicate the right level of thinking at each point. And also, ideally, has that conflict of management knowledge or background. But because we know it's really specialized, if you do have a broader risk management experience without the conflict part, there will be training provided as well, and very open to different industries.
Yeah, now I know this. I know this company, and it is a great pedigree to have on your CV. So,
Definitely.
if you are interested in learning more about this particular role, I would encourage you to reach out and get in touch with Vinny. Vinny, how would somebody do that?
Yeah, you can contact me on my landline at 9098-7436 or email me at vinny@people2people.com.au.
Okay, and I can see we've got a comment from Shisha online at LinkedIn saying, "Happy Friday." Happy Friday, Vinny.
Happy Friday.
Yeah, it is pretty cool that it is a Friday. Although my weekends and my weekdays tend to look a lot the same these days. Given that we're all in lockdown around everywhere. Okay, all right. Well, thanks, Vinny. Thanks for joining us today. It sounds like a really good opportunity, and if anybody's interested, they should get in touch with Vinny. Now let's cross over to Western Sydney, and it seems sort of counterintuitive that we'd want to go to Western Sydney today because of the lockdowns. So Mark Green, how is Western Sydney today?
Hi, Western Sydney's not bad actually. I mean, given that a lot of the Western Sydney's, as you say, in lockdown, we've been relatively busy. I mean, we've had about 15 jobs in this week across different areas of particular supply chain. So we've seen a lot. Surprisingly, we've seen a lot within freight, international freight. So it seems like there's a lot happening there with stock coming into Australia. So we've seen certainly over the last couple of days about 4 forklift roles come in, additional warehouse roles, logistics and supply demand planning administration roles as well. So myself and my colleague Peter have been busy in that space, which, as you say, given the lockdown, particularly in the southwest and west, is surprising.
And so, are there any special rules then? Like, if you're getting these roles in, and somebody says, "Well, I need a forklift driver. I need somebody in the warehouse."
Yeah. So there's been a bit of confusion as to who can go to work and who can't. Simply, supply chain is on the list of exempt jobs that people can go to work. The only real restriction is within the Canterbury and Bankstown LGA, where they're having to have a COVID test every 72 hours. And we've got a couple of people that are in that area, and it's quite easy to manage that, to get them to go and do that and manage it with the clients as well. So that's the only real restriction. They've obviously got to wear face masks when they're in the office as well, but that's the only one that they have. We've been doing some work with aged care facilities as well in the Western Sydney area. They've got to be vaccinated, certainly had the first vaccination and a flu shot if you're going to work in an aged care facility, to help out through there as well. The other thing that's interesting is the roles are actually, they're long term, so they're not just a quick fix. So they are sort of a couple of months, or certainly a couple of temp to perm roles as well, which is interesting and good to see given the current climate.
Yeah, great. All right, and you've got a specific vacancy that you wanted to talk to us about.
Yeah,
as well.
I do. I've got a more senior role within sits within it was a category analyst, temp to perm. It's a brand new opportunity for a appliances company that they've created the role. They've got about 5 category managers and about 3 product managers that have done their analysis previously themselves on their product lines, and they've had a bit of a change and have created this new role. So it's initially a 6-month temp role, but the brief from the client is very much that they wanted to create this role to then make it go permanent. So they're looking for somebody. You don't necessarily have to come from a category background. The main criteria is they want somebody with that strong analysis experience. So someone who's got advanced Excel, who knows how to do modeling and to use macros and to do create various different forecast models. They can teach them the rest around products and category and the different channels. They really want somebody who's got that understanding of macros and that proven analytical skills to be able to interpret the data. And the data comes from a whole pile of different data sources as well. So they'll be working across some really good products, and particularly within their it sits within their food preparation division. So it's an exciting role, and one that, given it's a new role, they'll be able to sort of
it's a contract, and it's immediate start though.
Immediate start. Yeah.
Does somebody need to be available for Monday? How long will they wait for the right person?
It is an interview. Given it's a new role, they will wait. If someone, for the right candidate, they'll wait if they're coming out of a different contract and they've got a notice period. But yeah, they will wait.
And what sort of hourly rate are we looking at there?
We're looking at a equivalent of 125k as a salary. So we're looking around about that 62, 65 dollars an hour plus super as well. So it's a good company to work for, well established, right. International. It's an exciting role. So if anybody's interested, they can get in contact with me on the details below. I can have a confidential chat with them. So the best number to get me on is that 8270-9766. I'm always happy to talk to anybody about the role, and look, if it's not right, there may be other things that we can consider them for.
And if you forklift drivers, if you're in Western Sydney, call Mark Green.
Definitely. High reach counterbalance, immediate start, particularly if they've got experience with international freight. Literally over the last couple of days, we've had we've already filled 3 roles in that space yesterday, and we've got another 3 or 4 in that space to fill. So a
lot going on. Just because there's a lockdown, that doesn't mean there's not things going on, and they're not job opportunities in Western Sydney. There are obviously rules, which we've talked about, but there's still things, still work to be done. So thanks, Mark. Thanks for joining us today. Great to see you again on P2P Live.
See you later.
We'll see you again soon. Rightio. So let's move on. I've also got a couple of links that I wanted to share with everybody today to some pretty good content, or at least I think it's good content, and I really wanted to share it. The first one was a webinar that we actually did yesterday at P2P, which was overcoming resistance to change, and that was with Michelle Holland from Synergy IQ, a consultancy firm based out of Adelaide. It was a great session. I really enjoyed it myself. We'll make sure we put the link in the comments there that you can jump onto and actually watch that content after. You didn't have to watch it now. You can now watch it later, but you'll get something out of that. Similarly, Erin Devlin, the Managing Director of Victoria, was on LinkedIn in a live session yesterday where she was talking about interviews and giving some feedback for job seekers, all based around her recent book, which you can grab, I think, from Booktopia and other places. I think there's an image you've got of the book there, Jacob. There we go. Get the Job You Really Want, that Erin's book. So make sure you jump onto that one too if you're a job seeker. The last piece of content I wanted to share does relate to Erin as well. We've got a new webinar coming up. I think it is it's 13 days away, the week after next, which is interview skills. We've done one webinar on this. We're doing a follow-up one because there was so much content we missed out on. So that's the week after next. Make sure you lock yourselves in for that one as well. There's the link in the comments there to grab a hold of that. So right, let's have a look at the Twitter poll from last week. I was surprised by the results of last week. So here they are. Have you found it tough to build new work relationships whilst working from home? Well, apparently a third of us say, no, I'm good. I'm okay. I can actually build relationships remotely. So the disagree and strongly disagree adds up to about 33%. And then 2/3 agree that, yeah, it is harder. And a full-on third strongly agree that it's difficult to build new work relationships while working from home. I must admit, I voted strongly agree. I think we had about 400 odd people respond to that. So next week's poll, which I think is a little bit controversial given the circumstances, would you feel comfortable going back to the office if your colleagues refused to be vaccinated? Would you feel comfortable going back to the office if your colleagues refused to be vaccinated? I know my answer. I won't share it with you now, but I think the Twitterverse is going to be all over this one. We'll probably get some very interesting comments from that particular poll. So make sure you follow us on Twitter, get on there and vote in that particular poll. So that's it for another week on P2P Live. If you have any questions, you can always jump on any of the social media that People2People are on, YouTube, LinkedIn, or even myself personally on Twitter. So, for example, that's P2P Mark, and we can engage in a conversation outside of this broadcast. But otherwise, join us again 12:30 next week, Australian Eastern Standard Time, for the next broadcast and jobs and market update. We'll see you then.